On today's episode of Locked On Stars, my way too early trade deadline targets.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. I thought it would be fun today to fast forward the clock and take a sneak preview at the trade deadline. Nothing is inevitable in the NHL, but the Dallas Stars will more than likely solidify themselves as one of the better teams in the Western Conference, or perhaps the NHL, which will certainly make them buyers at the trade deadline. So I have 4 names for you today, and these are my way too early potential trade deadline targets for the Dallas Stars. So buckle up. It's going to be a fun episode, which is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sport stops sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So I made a few assumptions for today, and one of those is the Dallas Stars will more than likely be hunting a defenseman. So I have 4 defensemen for you on today's episode of Locked On Stars. And this could all change, of course, with injuries, but the Stars are pretty solidified up front, and we could agree they're looking for a Tanev-like figure. Plus, I picked 4 names with contracts that expire at the end of this season. So a name like Rasmus Andersson is not going to be a part of this group. He's a name we will certainly keep an eye on as the season progresses. He's really interesting because his price point is really good. Plus, his contract ends at the end of this next season. So he's not in for today. Those are my 2 assumptions or parameters for today's episode. So the first name I'm going to throw out there in the universe is going to be Ivan Provorov. He's 27 years old. He's a left shot defenseman, 6'1", 201 pounds. He currently plays for the Columbus Blue Jackets. He's bumped around the league here recently. Not really, I guess, but he's played the majority of his career with Philadelphia. I see him as a Philadelphia Flyer is where I was going with that. But he played with Columbus last year, all 82 games. He had 5 goals, 27 assists for 32 points. And his cap hit is $6.75 million, which would be really tough for the Dallas Stars to handle. But at the end of the day, Chris Tanev was tough, and the Dallas Stars had to figure out some cap gymnastics to make that work, and they got the majority of his salary retained. At the end of the day, I think if a general manager wants to make a move, he can make it happen. It could be more difficult than others, but he can certainly make it happen. Look at Vegas and what they're doing, albeit a totally different way, using the loophole of the cap, but they still find a way to make it work. And Provorov is interesting because he is sort of offensively inclined. He had a pretty good year in Columbus. Not necessarily someone I think the Stars would have a twinkle in their eye for, but certainly a name to keep an eye out on as the year goes along. Plus, Columbus is a team that more than likely will not be competing for a playoff spot. They could be on the lookout to shed some cap in the final year of Provorov's contract. Also, Columbus is interesting because they do have some young defensemen that are up and coming that they may want to get some more playing time as the season progresses. And Provorov at this point may want to join a contender. So we'll see how that all plays out. But if you look at Provorov throughout his career, he's been pretty decent offensively. He had a career high 36 points in 2019-20 in 69 games, had a really nice start in his career with Philadelphia. His Corsi for percentage was 48.40, which was not too bad for a Columbus team that really struggled on defense. So he's the first name I want to throw out there. He may not be as likely as some of the other candidates. I tried to stick to some names that were pretty likely for the Dallas Stars. There are a lot of names that I think the Stars could be interested on with contracts that are ending at the end of this season, but I don't see those as very, very realistic for the Stars. So I try to stick to some names and some contracts that I think the Stars could handle. And this is also an interesting conversation because Dallas has some question marks on the back end too. We don't necessarily know what the Stars are really looking for because Lian Bichel could change a lot of things. He will more than likely begin in the AHL. And if he becomes what we really think he can become, possibly a top 4 big guy that can shut down opposing offenses and he can provide some offense up front, then maybe Dallas is looking to solidify a spot somewhere else. You can never have enough depth defensemen, so maybe they're looking for someone that can be their 5th or 6th defenseman. And then the Stars run into a good problem where they have a lot of good players, and that includes Esa Lindell, and that includes Dumba and Lyubushkin, who are very good players and could be very good in a role that the Dallas Stars could put for them if Lian Bichel turns out to be what we believe he could potentially be. So there are a lot of question marks. What will the Stars look for? Is it going to be that Tanev-like figure that pretty much instantly makes them better? Or is it more like Lovejoy from a few years back when he came in for that run against Nashville and the St. Louis Blues when the Stars lost in 7 games? He was a depth defenseman that provided really, really high-level minutes for the Stars, and that could be a potential. And I think Lovejoy could be compared to Jeff Petry, who's another name I wanted to throw out there. He is 36 years of age, so he would certainly be a rental for the Dallas Stars. He plays for the Detroit Red Wings. He's 6'3", 207. It's a big guy. He's played hefty minutes in his career. He played 22 minutes this past season on Detroit. This also depends on if Detroit is going to be competing, which more than likely they will. They were in the hunt till the very, very end this past season. Of course, he played the majority of his career in Montreal, had some really, really great years. 46 points was his career high in 2018-19. His offense isn't what it is, which is to be expected at his age, but he still plays really, really quality minutes. His cap hit is $6.25 million. I would love to have Petry. I really would. He's a right shot defenseman. I think he could be great on your bottom pair, and a guy that has played big minutes before. Put him on the PK. You don't have to worry about him too much defensively. He's been really, really good over the past few years for Pittsburgh and Detroit, respectively. He's a name I think would be really, really intriguing for the Dallas Stars as well. He's a right shot, which the Stars could potentially need because who knows what the heck is going to go on with Nils Lundkvist. And some of this is turning into a conversation about the Stars themselves, but what is going to happen with Nils Lundkvist? Can we expect him to be an everyday NHL player? Because he's kind of an important cog in this sort of wheel of defensemen. Because if he's not ready to go, or more than likely, this is more likely, Pete DeBoer doesn't trust him enough to throw him out there in key situations, or playing more than 3 minutes in a Stanley Cup playoff game, then you need to add another right shot. Because you have Dumba, you have Lyubushkin, and you have Lundkvist. And then after that, you don't have a ton of options. The left side is pretty solidified. So Jeff Petry could be a name that the Stars could take a look at. And I think he could be that Lovejoy type of player. He just steps in. You know he's going to be a rental. He's towards the tail end of his career, looking to compete. He does have a modified no-trade clause. So, of course, is Dallas on that? That is always a question. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Maybe Petry wants to come to Dallas and take a run at it. So there are a couple of names to begin with on my way too early trade deadline targets for the Dallas Stars. I thought this would be fun to look back here in 4 months or so and realize how completely off basis we are, or possibly we were pretty close. Maybe we hit some nail on the head. Probably not. But look, that's what we're doing today. We're making predictions, and that's what makes it fun. Okay, I have some more names on the other side, and the next one could possibly be a huge haul, and also a player that I think I really like. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games and the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. I know summer is coming to an end. The Summer Olympics are over. The kids are going back to school, but that means you have some more time to make some money while you're watching the sports this summer and into the fall. Football is right around the corner. Hockey is right around the corner. The Premier League, you name it, FanDuel has it. So go ahead, head over to FanDuel and start making the most out of your summer. You just have a few weeks left. Make some money with FanDuel. It takes 30 seconds to download. It's on the App Store. It's free. It's available, plus on the Google Play Store. Head over to FanDuel.com. Make the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Thank you so much for making Locked On Stars your first listen of the day. For your second listen, please head over to Locked On NHL Podcast. Locked On NHL provides you with a national perspective on all things NHL each and every day. National experts, local insight on every team in the league. It's available on YouTube. It's available free and wherever you get your podcasts. So please head over to them. They are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. It's been a lot of fun rocking along with you every single day this off season. I'll tell you what, I can't wait for training camp to begin. I know a lot of you are just ready for the games to start. I am as well. Preseason is going to be a ton of fun. They're going to be televised. Victory Plus, baby. We're going to get to watch preseason games. We're going to dissect this team up and down, left and right. You name it. We're going to be all over it on Locked On Stars. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Never miss an episode of Locked On Stars. The next name I'm throwing out there for my way too early trade deadline targets for the Dallas Stars, Marcus Pettersson of the Pittsburgh Penguins. 28 years of age. He's a left shot, 6'4", 176 pounds. His cap hit is $4.25 million. Pettersson is sort of the forgotten man in Pittsburgh. They have superstars, of course. Chris Letang, Erik Karlsson on the back end. He kind of gets lost in the shuffle, so to speak, but his play is not lost and is certainly not forgotten. Okay? He is a fantastic player on the back end for Pittsburgh, and he's done a wonderful job. He can play on the second power play unit as well. You can throw him there. He plays big minutes. He can be productive on the blue line. This past season, he had 30 points, which was a career high. He played in all 82 games. His Corsi for percentage, 52.40. Goals for percentage, 56.30. Had the best year of his career, and he's due up for a contract at the end of next season. Now, he is likely a candidate that Pittsburgh wants to re-sign, but they still have questions with Sidney Crosby. He's more than likely going to re-up with Pittsburgh and eventually retire as a Pittsburgh Penguin for life. And Pittsburgh is in some cap trouble. They have some decisions to make. Plus, are they going to compete? It's not a given that they are going to be in the hunt for a playoff spot, no matter what Sidney Crosby does and tries to will them into one like he did for the majority of this last season. So do they want to go ahead and ink him early, which they haven't done yet? And more than likely at this point, I don't know if they will, because he could bring a pretty big haul at the trade deadline. He is a very, very interesting, very interesting piece, because man, he is really, really good. Not a huge cap hit, and you have the potential to re-sign him. That's why he could be really interesting. And speaking of players that need to re-sign, Esa Lindell is interesting as well for the Stars. His contract is up at the end of next season, and he had arguably his best season of his career this past year. Something we haven't talked about a ton, but Esa Lindell was really, really stinking good this past season. And if you feel like you can bring him back, he's a left shot, and you can bring him back at a really, really pretty penny. Sign me up for Esa Lindell for a couple more years if we get that Esa Lindell. And you would hope Lindell's playing on your probably third pairing on a Stanley Cup contender. He's possibly top 4, but if you could have him on that third pairing, man, the Stars are looking really good. So Pettersson, really, really intriguing. He could definitely garner a few draft picks, and Dallas is certainly not afraid to give up some of their picks. It'll be interesting to see if they want to do that next season. They do have a 2025 first round pick. They have a 26 and 27. And we saw this past season, they only have 3 picks. So they're not afraid to get rid of draft capital. And frankly, you shouldn't be. If there's a player out there that you think is going to make you better, the draft capital really means nothing. A lot of times it can be a crapshoot. I'll be honest. And frankly, where the Stars are going to be picking in the next few seasons, it's not necessarily a guarantee, although they have been fantastic at picking players late in the first round. So next year they have a first round pick. They have a third, fourth. They got 2 fifth round, a 6th, and a 7th. So they have a ton, by the way, which is nice. They have all their picks in 2027. All their picks in 26 besides a 4th round. So we could see those flying off the shelves here in the next couple of months. But he's a name to keep an eye out. I think in general, I think a lot of teams will be hot on his tail, probably not just the Stars. And he has a left shot. And as I mentioned, that could be really tough because Dallas doesn't necessarily need someone on the left side. Potentially if Bichel's a good player, potentially if Harley and Heiskanen are certainly going to be separated for the time being. That's not necessarily a guarantee if Miro's going to be playing on his strong side. Maybe they want to keep Harley and Heiskanen together. Of course, those are things that will start to appear as the season rolls along. But Pettersson is certainly a name that I think Stars fans should at least keep an eye on. And he's been a very, very nice player recently, sort of a forgotten man in Pittsburgh. But his play is certainly not. All righty, the finale. One more for you. And I think this could be the most likely and could be a great fit as well. I'll tell you who that is in just a moment. Hey, Stars fans, please be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, never miss an episode of Locked On Stars. Go to the comments below as well and throw in a name that you would like the Stars to possibly take a look at the trade deadline. Put some of your predictions below, and maybe those will come true here in the next couple of months. We always do way too early predictions or way too early this or that. But thought I would change it up and go trade deadline because I think a lot of Stars fans are thinking ahead and being like, okay, they're good. We know that. But like, when are they going to be really good and get over the hump, right? And they were really good last season. Okay. Don't come at me. But when are they going to make a move to get them over the hump of that Western Conference final? This season it's going to be a roller coaster. I feel like it's going to be an absolute roller coaster. And I can't wait to live and die with every single game along with you. My finale here, my grand finale for potential way too early trade deadline targets for the Dallas Stars. From the Seattle Kraken, Adam Larsson. Love the player. Really, really good player. 6'3", 209. He is a right shot defenseman, 31 years of age, cap hit, $4 million. He has a modified no trade clause. Had a bit of a down year in Seattle, which is sort of a redundancy for the Kraken last year. A lot of players had a down year. They could certainly compete and make a case for them being in the hunt for the postseason in the West next season. So he may not be available because he's a pretty integral part of their back end. Played over 1,500 minutes last season. Really has had a nice past 3 years. 52.90 goals, forward percentages. Corsi forward percentage has been over 50% the last 3 seasons. He's been just really, really good. Played 7 years in Edmonton, was drafted by New Jersey. I think could be just such a fantastic fit here for Dallas. You could just throw him into the mix. Think he could sort of be like that Tanev where you just plug him and play. He can do a bit of everything. And I think he would be a great partner for someone like a Harley, a bit more of a defensive-minded player, but can certainly shut it down. I think could partner perfectly with even someone like Esa Lindell. Maybe that's your shutdown pairing. There really isn't sort of that shutdown pairing for Dallas, at least that is just shining their lights like in my eyes, blinding me. I don't know if there's like oh yeah, they're going to be shut down. I feel like Harley and Heiskanen can sort of be that way, and they are that way if you look at the numbers. But is that going to be Miro and Lyubushkin? Maybe that's Lindell's usually a part of that pairing, but he could be paired with Niels. And is that really going to be a pairing that's going to be lights out in their defensive zone? Who knows? Who knows, right? So we'll certainly have to see where that all heads. But I think Larsson is very, very obtainable too at a $4 million cap hit. He's someone that you can bring in and possibly re-sign if you're not able to re-sign a player like Lindell, which I don't think they necessarily would have a ton of trouble. Lindell's an interesting case again. They paid him at $5.8 million, but he's certainly not going to garner that on the open market. You could get him at a very, very, very reasonable number. And that also depends on Jamie Benn and whatnot and what number he comes at. And then you also got to pay Wyatt Johnston. So none of these are sure things, right? Which makes it complicated, but also fun at the same time. But Larsson is another guy I want to throw out there. And probably the most realistic out of the 4 names I gave for you today. Number 1, because he's cheap. 2, Seattle could have a down year. I don't know what we're going to get out of them. Of course, they went out and they paid Montour all the monies in the world. They paid Stevenson all the monies in the world. Do they have enough to pay Larsson? And if I'm not mistaken, Matty Beniers is probably up for a contract as well. I'm going to take a look at their cap situation. They currently have 6.3, so they have plenty of space. But I want to say Beniers is probably on the block for next season. Trying to take a look. Currently don't see him. Okay, now I see him. Yeah. So so he needs a contract this year. So never mind. They will end up paying him. But there are some young guys that will be on the books. Karche is one. Ben Myers is another. So yeah, they are pretty set good. I'll give them that. So yeah, they could certainly re-sign Larsson, but he is a UFA, so we'll see if he wants to test the market. So yeah, he'll be an interesting case. But let's be honest, if Seattle's not in the mix, they could want to mix some things up. But they're trying to go for it. No more days in the NHL where teams are just sitting back doing nothing, especially these new franchises. Look at Utah. Made some big trades. They got Sergachev. They're bringing in players, and obviously they already got some very nice players from Arizona. So yeah, it'll be a fun trade deadline, I think. I think it'll be some fireworks. Just to throw some names out there. Okay, Marner is one that has been floated around all offseason, and it seems like he's available, but nothing ever happens. Leon Draisaitl is an interesting case as well. Is Edmonton ready to re-sign him? There are some names. Besser is one. Claude Giroux. Don't think he'll be moving. Taylor Hall is another. Is he going to be healthy? Pionk from Winnipeg. There are a ton of names I could throw out there. Mangiapane was a player that Ryan Chambers brought up, and he's pretty high on him as well. So I'm excited to see how it all unfolds in the next few months for the Dallas Stars. But those are my way too early trade deadline targets for the Dallas Stars. Wanted to throw out 4 names into the universe, and these could all completely flop. More than likely, they will completely flop, but I thought it'd be fun, and we can look back and be like, yeah, you're an absolute idiot, Joey. So way to go. And that's okay. I'll take it. I'll take it right on the chin. That's what I'm here for. Take it right on the chin. Drop a comment below. Is there someone that you really, really have your eye on? Sometimes we all have that shining star in the world that we want the Stars to do everything to go out and get. So I'd love to hear your suggestions in the comments below. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you as always for the love and support on the recent videos. The numbers have been fantastic. The support has always been second to none here on Locked On Stars, and cannot wait for the season to get going. Just a month or so, and then everything will ramp back up, including here on Locked On Stars. Alrighty, enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll see you later this week. So long, Stars fans.